Gotta be the baby. Mama, please come blue for Excuse me, Boogie Cat, when I jump it like a snap with a hip hop, 55. The groove's so funky, you just can't stop. Keep running the blues like BB King, and then I'll be the girl of the street. Put to the beat and from my blade. I really love your blues, but it makes me sad. If I was soul, Mr. Boogie Cat, you keep us back. I'm not saying it's bad, I'm not saying it's good. Too much hip hop, make me sing the blues. Hip hop, you look so doggone fine. You make me feel so good. Think I'm gonna change my mind.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here on a Wednesday evening. If you missed that introduction, we'll get back to a little video with a local legend, Oregon Music Hall of Fame recipient, inductee Norman Sylvester. But before we do that, I want to thank my buddies at 5 Star Guitars. These guys, right here, are based in Beaverton, Oregon, which means that there's no sales tax. If you're going to if you have an interest in playing guitar and you want to buy gear, go to the link that I post below, 5starguitars.com/all-access-live with Kevin Rankin. There'll be an opportunity to enter a promo code. You can enter all access 15. You're going to save 15% off of everything you see on those pages. Plus, the idea that there's no sales tax just means that you're saving a ton of dough. You're going to support a show or a business that is supporting me. The NAMM Association indicated that 5 Star Guitars is, in fact, the #1 music merchandiser in North America. So go shop. Let them know that I sent you. They'll appreciate it. Now, I also want to ask that if you're watching this on any other device besides YouTube, any other platform, there are links to this channel on YouTube. If you go down here to All Access Live with Kevin Rankin, youtube.com/All Access Live with Kevin Rankin, and hit the subscribe button, and then hit the bell button. Maybe if you like this episode, you can even hit the like. But if you subscribe, you'll be able to go back and look at all 216 episodes of All Access Live that we've done since last May. And you can ring the bell to be notified of the upcoming episodes that we've got. So trying to wrestle the guys in black and blue to come on the show. They're prepping for the KISS tour, or the KISS cruise. They're in Portland today, starting rehearsals. So I might try to snag them. And my band is back out on the road again tomorrow. So A Flock of Seagulls is going to be out tomorrow, flying to Atlanta, then driving up to Kentucky, playing Ashland, Kentucky on Friday. Then having a day off, driving to Norwalk, Connecticut, where we'll play Sunday night. Monday night, we're in Boston. Tuesday night, I believe we're in Pennsylvania. Got some New Jersey gigs in there somewhere. Lots of dates coming up. So if you're interested in checking it out, go to kevinrankin.com/calendar. I'd love to see you guys out there. I will be doing All Access Live from the road. We were with Smithereens last weekend in Chicago, and I didn't have an opportunity to sit down with them. But if you're a Smithereens fan, you probably know that their incredible singer, Pat Denisio, passed away a couple years ago. So they're now fronted by Marshall Crenshaw. Marshall, you know, from his depiction of Elvis Costello in the movie about his life. Buddy Holly. Jeez, he reminds me of Elvis Costello. I'm a little thrown here. I'm in a completely different studio while my son moves his stuff right now. So pardon the different lighting and setup and my absence of sanity. So anyway, Smithereens. Marshall Crenshaw was fronting the band. They sounded cool. I just didn't get a chance to sit down with them. But they'd be a fun guest, I think, for All Access Live. We are going to be going out, I believe, with Men Without Hats soon. So you'll see lots of episodes with Ivan and the gang. And then in November, you'll see a lot of, in October, let me tell you, 24th through the 29th, I'll be in Cancun with my buddy Mike May for 80s in the Sand, or what they call the Sands now, with all sorts of amazing bands: Billy Idol, Cheap Trick, Tesla, I think Sheena Easton, Wang Chung, all of my buddies. So we'll do lots of episodes of All Access Live. At the end of the month, I'll be celebrating my birthday down there. Lots of good stuff to come. Then November, Lost 80s Live will be back in Texas with a whole bunch of our friends, the Romantics and Naked Eyes and Animotion, and New Shoes, and Annabella's Bow Wow Wow, and all that good stuff. So you'll find out if you go to kevinrankin.com/calendar. Now, we're waiting for Norman to hop back on, and while we do, I'm just going to give you a little video here. You're going to get a taste of Norman. And you know what? If you haven't done so yet, and I'm telling you that two of you have, somebody out there on Twitch, somebody out there is on Facebook, guys, hop on over to that link down below, the YouTube link. Subscribe. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of Norman live. So take it away, folks. Check this out.
You love me too. You love hip-hop. I love hip-hop. You know my love is true. Oh, Lord. If you got a minute, baby, I'm gonna play some blues. Oh, yeah. go in the head. If I keep me going, I ain't never gonna stop. Excuse me, Boogie Cat, will I jump like a top with a hip hop? 55, the groove so funky, you just can't stop. Keep burning the blues like BB King, and then I'll be the girl of the dream. Put to the funk and from my brain. I really love your blues, but it makes me sad. If I'm a soul, Mr. Boogie Cat, you keep your back.
I'm not saying it's bad, I'm not saying it's good. Too much hip hop make me sing the blues. Hip hop forever. You look so doggone fine. You make me feel so good. Think I'm gonna change my mind.
You guys, I was hoping that we were going to get a little bit of Norman here before the end of that clip, but he's not here yet. So I'm processing another clip, and while I do, we're just going to hang out and talk to you guys in the chat. I will say, number one, Oregon Music Hall of Fame is an organization, if you don't know, that honors musicians or people in the music industry that have made an impact on Oregon and they've either lived here for the last 20 years or they're from here. So a lot of visionaries, guys like Doc Severinsen and all the way up to modern artists like Everclear. So Norman Sylvester was one of the very first inductees, as were Curtis Salgado and some of my other guests that we've had on the show. Curtis was on last week, and if you missed that show, it was phenomenal. We had a 2-part show, and he talked about his time with Robert Cray. He talked about the interaction he had with Jim Belushi and how they based the Blues Brothers on him. But we also talked about traditional blues artists and their contribution in this community. And Norman should be... I'm sorry, 1 second. There he is. So Norman is another one of those guys. He's a seminal artist that's recognized in the Oregon Music Hall of Fame. And I think if you're anywhere in this area, you've heard his name, and now you're going to be able to catch a little bit of his story. So with no further ado, please welcome Norm Sylvester.
Hey, Kevin, what's up, man?
Good to see you, buddy. Look at that. He's got a suit on. Looking good, sir.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. It's a beautiful day.
It is a beautiful day. I feel a little underdressed right now, but you also have this tremendous purple suit that I've seen you in, and I got a little purple thing, man. So the next time I see you, I'm going to see if I can up my game and. Yeah,
it's one of those old retro shark skin purple that kind of gets different colors the way you look at it in different light.
I love it.
My wife found it online and she bought it for me for a birthday gift.
That's a good gift.
Yeah, she's my shopper. She dresses me, man.
If I give you my sizes, can I have your wife shop for me too?
Definitely.
Oh man, I need it, buddy. I need it. So I played a little bit of your hip hop blues from Waterfront Blues Festival in 2004. Was that?
Yeah, probably about that.
Okay, and I just touched on the fact that just before we went live, you talked about how you'd seen a little bit of the Curtis Salgado episode. And
yes,
on Curtis's episode, we talked about traditional blues artists and their impact here. You don't expect to see legitimate, like soulful, traditional blues, that you might find in Memphis or, New Orleans or Alabama. So tell me your story a bit. How did you bring that sound up here?
Well, see, my beginning was, the roots of my beginning was in Bonita, Louisiana. I was born there in 1945 on my grandmother's 110-ish acre farm out in the rural Bonita. She was one of the largest African-American landowners in northern Louisiana at the time. So my father, sang in a gospel quartet. So that was my first exposure to harmonizing voices. The Missionary Baptist Church in Bonita. I was volunteered to sing in the choir when I was a little kid, so harmonizing voices. And later on, my dad in his quartet, they added a guitar. And so now I can hear the guitar and the harmonizing voices. So now I'm hooked on the guitar. But I'd also heard B.B. King in the cafes and jukeboxes. You know,
Yeah.
we couldn't sing the songs or dance to them, but folks would put a nickel in there and they'd hit it. You know, they'd play "Sweet Little Angel," so I
Okay.
could hear that. So I could hear that influence as well. So I'm just a kid at that time, but I wasn't doing anything bluesy at that time. I was all
Sure.
church. Because
Yeah.
my grandmother said it was the devil's music. Boy, you're going straight to hell if you do anything with that stuff.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Well, that was, I mean, during the day, right? That was the,
Yeah.
that was the message. But
My dad sang over the radio out of Monroe, Louisiana. He sang on the radio gospel songs, and they toured the northern circuit of a Baptist circuit up in northern Louisiana. So he played a little bit of blues harp too. So he was my first and biggest influence as far as my soul being ready to express with music.
so how, if your dad was that supportive, was he, I mean, because you mentioned him being, in church, did he encourage you to pick up several instruments? Did he want you to become a musician or?
No, never pushed me toward it or away from it. In those days, man, most people kind of let the kids kind of go, whatever their interest was. They got behind them and helped them and supported them, but they didn't really push them toward any specific thing because each child has to be their own person, and they'll find their passion.
One
So
would hope.
I found my passion. That's how I ended up playing guitar. I just found my passion.
But BB King was that first, like, that was the first moment when you saw him and listened to him play, you thought, that's what I want to do?
The first time I heard that intro, dun, 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 out of that jukebox, what they call a Seaberg in those days, it had the big neon circle with little bubbles coming around in it and stuff like that. And then I would hear that intro, BB King intro, and I'd hear one of them old ladies over in the corner at that cafe go, yeah, and stick a hand up in there before a word was even said. It's just that ding, 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 ding. And I said, wow, those few notes got that much power over that person's emotion. So I could see a connection that music had to that working class of people that I was around in Louisiana.
How old were you then?
I came to Oregon in 1957, and I was 12 years old then.
Wow. That, when you think about 12-year-olds now, right? The things that they're exposed to and the things that kind of get them excited.
Yeah.
I think, and we'll get in this in a second. I mean, you and I talked about how important family is to you.
Oh, yeah.
I know that your family is so tight, man. And, if you think about what inspires 12-year-olds enough to want to just completely go after something.
Yeah.
A lot of it's video games, right? I mean, I hear a lot of preteens and early teens saying that they're going to make millions of dollars streaming games and having sponsors, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of like what we were thinking about in music in the early day. If you just got that record deal, right? With
that one song that you keep waiting for, but at one time in your life, Robert Johnson, they talk about he made a deal with the devil at the Crossroads.
Right.
What Robert Johnson did, he just gave up plowing that mule and went into a shed somewhere and he learned how to play that guitar. Yeah. He gave his soul to the music.
Yeah.
Okay, now that the folklore is cool, at the Crossroads, but as men and as women or whatever your pronoun is, crossroads in life is when you decide that something inside you can be expressed through something you do and you like it. Now that's your passion. You got that. So you're going to go straight toward that. So at that crossroads, you could probably go do this, but now I really, really want to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put all of my energy in that. And that's your crossroads of life right there. When I don't know anybody that's dancing up and down and jumping and clapping hands going to a 9 to 5. But when I go to play my guitar at the club, man, I'm in my suit, man. I'm feeling pretty doggone good,
You're looking pretty darn good
too,
man. Yeah. I'm a firm believer in that adage, right? That if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life, right?
There you go.
Now, I've got a standard, I own a web design business, right? So that's the bread and butter, but it's not a 9 to 5 for me. I take it with me, and when I'm on the road with the band, I can do it from the bus, I can do it from the airplane, I can do it anywhere. I'm blessed that way because I've done those other jobs, right? And I bet you have done some jobs that you think those
By
are they're the reminders that you don't want to be doing that for a living, right?
by the time I came to Oregon in 1957, on my grandmother's farm, I had picked cotton. I had been in the cotton fields because my grandmother hired people to come and pick cotton on her little plantation. And I was a part of that. We was out there in the field. We was doing stuff, man. It was a front yard and a backyard. It was clay dirt, but there was chickens running around. It was a fenced-in yard, front and back. My sister and I, we had to sweep that dirt with brooms, man, just like you're sweeping a house to keep it clean. So hard work. My grandmother told me that as an African-American man, and this was when I was a little guy, I would have to do things twice or three times better than the guy standing next to me.
Just to be able to prove that you're worth.
So,
That's so sad.
And she said, always work wisely. Always, if you got a job, dedicate yourself to it, because when you look over your shoulder at that job completed, you should feel good inside that I just did that.
Yeah.
And as musicians, that's a good show. When we look back and the people still saying one more, that kind of stuff. That job well done. Or you manicure your yard and you got the grass is green and everything is blocked out, and you look back over your shoulder. That's a good job, So always be able to look over your shoulder in your rearview mirror and say, I like that.
Yeah, man. The value of hard work and pride, right? How this is an interesting concept, and I hadn't really thought about asking you this, but ever since I saw Norman Sylvester for the first time, and I was on that board of directors for Oregon Music Hall of Fame for 7 years.
That was so cool. Yeah, it was 2011.
Yep.
2011. Yeah.
I just found a picture of you up on stage and me right behind you. It looked like I was photobombing you, but no, we were up doing Louie at the end of the night. And I remember even long before that, when I moved here in '94, I came out from Montana, right? And I played all styles of music, man. I was traveling around getting reggae bands and jazz bands and funk bands and metal. I came to Portland, and the introduction I got blew my mind because I think people that haven't visited here, they might not realize that although Portland is a metropolitan area,
right?
It's pretty white, man. I mean, it's a white city, right? And I got here, I saw some of the most amazing Latin bands I'd ever seen.
Oh yeah,
I saw Israel Ano playing. So we had
Oboe Addy.
Yep. I mean, I saw pretty much every style of music. I saw taiko drums. I saw
Portland taiko. And when you got here, the salsa band was La Mayor.
Yeah, and oh man, we had Bobby Torres, right?
Torres,
man. So even though there wasn't a representation of the global population, there were incredible artists. There was a culture here that nobody really knew about. It was,
and don't forget Dub Squad.
Of course, man. Oh yeah, well, you've got some early origin with that.
Noah Briggs and Dub Squad, man. Because Noah Briggs was the guitar player in the Stilettos with Curtis at the first Waterfront Blues Festival in '87 at the Waterfront, the Rose City Blues Festival.
This is so good, man.
And John Mazzocco, who ended up later on playing with John Lee Hooker, was the bass player for the Stilettos. And I was on that gig with my band with may she rest in peace, Janis Scroggins, the most phenomenal keyboardist I'll ever know. And John Lee Hooker was the headliner, man. One headliner, all local bands on that day, man. And I got the opening spot for B.B. King at the Arlene Schnitzer Hall out of that gig.
That was where that came from.
Yeah.
Oh man, you got to tell that story. This is a really cool story.
So I played that Waterfront Blues, the first one, the Rose City Blues Festival with sweet Janis Scroggins, a phenomenal keyboardist. And what she did for my blues band at the time was she took my 9th chords and my 7th chords and dressed them up on the keyboard and didn't make them seem that she just put honey around them, Yeah. So I had like all original music. So I did all original songs at that show. And about 3 weeks later, I get a call from a promotional guy and say, Mr. Sylvester, I want you to. We want to ask you if you want to open for BB at the Arlene Schnitzer Hall. And I'm saying, what? Because Paul DeLay, myself, Terry Robb, Lloyd Jones, and Curtis had just played the dedication for the new Arlene Schnitzer Hall in the Park Block,
Okay.
because it was the Paramount Theater before.
Right.
And so I'm just like, somebody's just messing with me. So he said, I'm serious, sir. Because, I said something like, man, I got to wash my car. I don't have time for that. So
the
he
biggest
said,
honor you could have in Portland.
I'm sure, just this is for real, sir. I said, well, yeah, man, for sure. Yeah, I'm in. He said, well, we were there at the festival, and you were the only guy that played all original music, and we don't think that will interfere with anything that BB's going to do.
Right.
So, man, fast forward, he gave me 18 comp tickets. I brought my family, my sisters, my cousins, and everybody free.
Yeah, man. Oh, man, that's
we had Janice on the stage with us, so we played all of my originals. I had my two nieces and my daughter Lynanne, and they were the Sweet Things, and they were the background singers. So all my early songs on the Right Track CD were all harmony songs. So they sang harmony, and we kicked. And so in the middle of that show, I stopped and I told the audience, I said, I am blessed to have one of the best keyboardists that I will ever know. And I really want to take this opportunity. Just me being here is a blessing, but I just want to shine a spotlight on her. And she was sitting at a baby grand, and she had her other electric keyboard to the side. I said, I'd like to turn the stage over to Janice Scroggins and let her do something for you. And I had instructed my band to walk off stage, and Janice took over. Man, she did some Scott Joplin, a little bit of W.C. Handy, and on that baby grand, and got a standing ovation, man.
No kidding. Did she know you're gonna bring her out on? All right, you got her. You took her off guard, man.
But she was, she was a pro. She was the best of the best. I mean, she made Curtis look good. She made Paul DeLay look good. She may he rest in peace, Lloyd Jones. We all was using Janice, man, and she was working with the Oregon Ballet Theater, with the symphony. So she was just it.
Yeah.
And she burned up that acoustic keyboard, and we came back on stage and did our show, and BB came out and did his thing. We got to party with BB and the band, and I was back down at the trucking company in Coveralls the next day.
That's amazing. Yeah, we were talking about jobs, So at the trucking company, you got jeans, but you had a different perspective on life. I'll bet when you went back to work the next day, thinking,
well, yeah. Well, I was feeling good, and of course, the job was giving my kids insurance,
Right.
dental, medical, vision, all that stuff, So the job was a necessity at the time, So, it was like I was blessed to be there. I'm hooked to play music, but I got to do that day job. You know what I'm saying?
It is. You can consider it a means to an end. Sometimes.
Actually, it's just you have a dream, but you want what you want when you want it.
Yeah.
What you get when you get it.
That's right, man.
It takes some time.
Well, part of that too, and you correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I stopped using the word luck a couple years ago. Because while we all are blessed and fortunate for opportunities that we're given, I believe that luck indicates that we weren't in the right place at the right time, or that we weren't prepared, right? And so had you not been able to just storm that stage at Waterfront Blues Festival, own it with your original music, you wouldn't. Well, perhaps you wouldn't have gotten that gig. And so when people say, "Oh, Norman, man, you're so lucky," I think it's a slap in the face. It discredits your opportunity, and you can praise, honor wherever you want. I just feel like, man, you've earned what you've got. You've earned the credibility, the trust. It was never a question. When Oregon Music Hall of Fame looks at inductees,
Yeah.
I've never wanted to be a voting member. I will say that. I mentioned it to Curtis too, because
Hmm.
I don't want to be the guy that says one person is worthy more than another.
Another, right?
But I
Yeah.
can totally say, without a doubt, Norman Sylvester has made a huge impact, not just in the local blues community, but when you just mentioned something, you talked about how you worked that day job to be
Yeah.
able to put insurance, for your family.
Right.
Now, but you had a huge involvement in healthcare for all in the music industry here. And I wanted to kind of know a little bit more about that, because you were working on that end for almost 10 years, right?
Yeah, I booked there was a club over in northeast Portland called the Royal Esquire Club. And when Jesse Jackson ran for his first run at the presidency, they gave a jam there, the Rainbow Coalition did, called Jam for Jesse.
Nice.
I was booking Sundays there, Sunday music, and I was still working trucking then. I was booking Sunday music there, jam session. Paulette Davis came through there. Everybody was playing Sunday jam session there. And the Rainbow Coalition said, well, can you put the show together for this jam for Jesse? And I booked that show.
Okay.
And I booked that. That show turned into the Inner City Blues Festival. And it went on for about 8-9 years.
Okay.
I booked it. Then it took time off. And then they all met with Healthcare for All Oregon, some of the committee members from that committee. And they called me and said, hey, Norman, let's get the band back together and start working with Healthcare for All Oregon. So at that point, my wife and I volunteered. We booked the Inner City Blues Festival from November to April. And we put it on at different venues around the area, ended up at the Eagles Lodge out here in North Portland. And we've been, until the pandemic, we were planning the show at the Aladdin that got canceled.
Oh, man.
Big show at the Aladdin for the Kings and Queens of Blues. The Queens of Soul and the Kings of Blues was the show.
All local?
All local.
Okay, give me the lineup.
It was LaRonda Steele.
Of course.
We were going to put Ray Gordon in there. We was bringing in Arietta Ward, my daughter Lynanne.
Nice.
And then for the guitar players, we're going to have Tevis Hodge Jr., Jay Bird Coda. Jay Bird. He toured just before COVID. He was touring with Chick Corea.
Yep.
And we was going to do me, of course. And who was the other guitar player? Lloyd.
Oh, Lloyd Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that got canceled. And so for the
who's playing
rally,
huh? Who's going to play drums on that one?
We had who was playing with I think Brian Foxworth.
Of course, man.
Yeah.
Lee Fox. He's been on my show, and that's so it didn't happen because of the pandemic. Is there a plan to do the follow up?
Well, of course, like everything that's in hold now, when the pandemic releases our necks from choking us down, we're gonna all come back and do something. Like right now, I'm waiting on the Moderna booster to be approved, and of course, I'll try to go back out there, but I'm not doing indoors. I just played my last outdoor gig on the 25th of September.
Okay.
So yeah, but
I love your porch concerts are pretty wicked, man. I like seeing that. That's cool.
Funny story about that. So
yeah.
And during the pandemic year 2020, of course, you get bored, man. You're sitting around. So I come downstairs in my red suit, and my wife would look at me and say, "What are you doing?" I said, "All right, let's go out on the porch out here and shoot this little piece I got in my head." And that first one, "I believe in you, I believe in you." That was one of the first ones where I played the red guitar, the little 335 Gibson looking guitar.
Oh, yeah.
And that was then I started writing songs with those themes when they were doing the voting thing. I worked with Multnomah County on a big voting song thing. I was doing PSAs. My bass player brought me a green screen.
Oh, nice.
And so my son, who's pretty good on computers, he would put different backgrounds behind me. So we got pretty slick. But, for Old Cat, that virtual stuff was just... Dude.
Man. Yeah. Well, you hit me to something really cool, man, that you guys got the Jamulus system going so you guys could rehearse.
Yeah, and that's another one, too, called Sonibus.
Okay.
Sonibus. I guess Rob just told me today that Sonibus might be a little bit better, but the last time we did Jamulus, it sounded great, man. It was, I don't know, the connection was good or was less people on it, but it's an international platform. You might get people from Japan, Canada, Nashville, New Orleans that jump in and listen or start playing over you.
Yeah.
Then all you do is mute them if they're messing you up.
Yeah, or if they're just not good.
Yeah.
Well, there are tons of musicians that watch this podcast, so yeah, I'll put it in the follow-up credits after Norman and I finish up. But like Steven Santiago, I see you out there, man, and Larry Turing, you guys should know that this system that Norman was talking about, Jamulus first, he said there's no latency. The sound quality is great. Everybody's been able to jam in time, which was a nightmare for people at the beginning of the pandemic. No bands could rehearse. Jennifer Batten, if you're watching, you finally might have an opportunity to not have to come down from the mountain. You can
you can't see the person, but you got headphones on, and I just use our interface, and I have my microphone in one channel, my guitar in the other one, headphones in, and we just bam.
That's
you
cool.
can hear the bass, and my bass player's son is up in Seattle, does his drums with us sometimes, so we get a drummer as well.
Nice.
And you'll be on there, and sometimes somebody would jump in that really sounds good that you don't want to mute.
Yeah.
So you introduce yourself to them, and like I've gotten relationships. I have people hit me up on, like a friend just out of Colorado just told me, he keeps in contact with me. Hey, Norman, we're covering one of your tunes that we heard on Jamulus. We're covering your song, Blue Stains on My Hands. So he's playing my tune in Colorado,
And you said, hey, my man, this is my PayPal address, right? Yeah. Royalties coming to this address, man. Yeah. But it's an honor for sure to know that these guys just got hip to your stuff through the streaming service.
Yeah.
I'm glad that some of the audience that's here on the chat group. So Larry Turing he works with a music distribution company, and they do licensing and everything like that. We've had a lot of artists that have come on to talk about how different the industry is now, right? So you talked about your introduction to music being B.B. King on the jukebox, and man, those days were so magical. You had some control over what you could hear because you'd be able to grab the records and put the dime in the jukebox. But the best part was when that thing was auto playing and it was just shuffling that music around, and
the grind of the needle, of the needle, it just added. That's why a lot of your audiophiles are all going back, because Dover Weinberg, who was playing jamming with me before he went off with Robert Cray. When Craig put out his newest stuff, he's putting out vinyl too.
Yeah.
So that's really wise, man.
Yeah, man.
I still have a turntable, man. I listen to vinyl stuff out there all the time.
That it's a big thing when the new generation, the kids 10 to 20 are buying vinyl. That's a cool thing. Our dear friend Terry Courier, man. I mean, I think the resurgence of vinyl, he saw that was such an important part of people's experience. And I'm grateful for Music Millennium. I'm grateful for what he's done in the community. But
you remember when you first came here, how many record stores it was in Portland, man?
I do. Yeah, at least it does.
Music Millennium has been the main vessel, man.
That's the truth. Yeah.
For the Waterfront Blues to sell out product in their booth, you run over there, and then folks run over and buy you stuff, and you sign autographs. It makes, we're in a little smaller pond here, but that international festival, the Waterfront Blues Festival, makes it a bigger pond on that particular day.
Yeah.
And it just makes us feel so good to be there. And then everybody passing by the Music Millennium booth is coming in. If they want to take a photo with you, they want you to sign this shirt. Yeah. It's a very special thing. Terry with Music Millennium and the Waterfront Blues is one of the blessings for the local musicians here in town, man. But what I really miss, man, is like when you was talking about the B.B. King through the jukeboxes. Is in 1965, I go to the Reed College Commons and Buddy Guy is playing.
Oh man!
And so my wife at the time, she and I went back and talked to the guy that was standing at the dressing room area and told him that I could play guitar. And he said, "Come on back, I introduce you to Buddy." And so, I had just started playing guitar, man. And, I knew about maybe 4 or 5 songs. And so I go back and I lie my way back, and I'm shaking hands with Buddy, and he'd already played the guitar with his handkerchief. He played it with his teeth and behind his head. Now,
Yeah.
you know, I couldn't do nothing near that.
Yeah.
So I said, yeah, man, I really love the blues, man. I've learned some songs and stuff. He said, well, do you play? I said, yeah. He said, do you have a guitar? I said, no, sir, don't. He said, well, hey, take him out there and let him play my guitar. Let him open up the second set for me.
Oh, man.
And dude, I played Hideaway.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, folks thought I was with the show. They like, you know.
Yeah.
And guess what, dude? Tears just was in my eyes, man, at that time. And
my God,
Buddy, they let me do that. You know what I'm saying?
That's a class act.
And now you can't get close to artists like that anymore. When I first met BB King with the D Street Chorale in the 60s, I got back to talk to BB. BB's talking to me. The guy came in with Lucille. And BB told the guy, the handler, give it to him, let him put her in the case.
Oh, man.
Let me put Lucille in the bed, man. You know, like velvet.
Yeah.
And dude,
yeah,
you hear what I'm saying, dude?
That's
those
history.
artists, those guys like BB and Buddy, Otis Clay, I opened for him many times.
Really?
They were like country boys, man, out of the South, and they didn't have any walls, but now people are so away from folks, you know, even before COVID.
Right.
That, you know, but I like that I came along. I'm 76, so I came along back in the day when those artists were approachable.
Yeah.
And you could, I went to Reno in 1978. I had a brand new 1974 Dodge Charger with a 440 with a sunroof. I still got it in my garage.
No, you don't.
This is my longest relationship.
Oh, man.
I drove it to Reno, Nevada for the MGM Grand opening. They had the Lion there, and I went to see all of that. So I come through Harrah's in that evening, and I hear BB's band in one of the cabarets. So I had just seen BB, you know, played with him and seen him, and so I see his road manager. I said, where's BB? Can I talk to him? The dude, I told him about the Arlene Schnitzer. I told him about the D Street Chorale and stuff. He said, yeah, man, come on. He's downstairs here. So he takes me downstairs, and BB sitting down there drinking red strawberry pop in a glass bottle with Planters peanuts poured down in the pop. It's a country thing, man. It's got salt on it, so it foams up and stuff.
Okay.
Filling out a Keno card. And I visited with BB, man. That was like on a Saturday night. I get up that Sunday morning, I come back to Harrah's, and I'm walking through there, man, just figuring out what I want to lose my money at that particular time. And I see a cat over at this dollar slot machine with hat pulled down and stuff. And I knew it was BB because he got that little round body. I said, you can't hide. So I walked over there. I said, hey, BB. He said, you caught me, huh?
How much you down?
Yeah, so at 1987, BB signed a dollar bill for me because his birthday and my birthday is the same day.
Really?
September 16th.
Wow,
And,
happy belated birthday, man.
Well, thank you. And he said he signed it to Norman, birthday same as mine, BB King. And I got that dollar bill in my album, sealed in my album right now. It's one of my most cherished possessions, man.
I'm glad you didn't throw that dollar in a poker machine. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, fast forward to 1991, I get a call from Eugene, and they said, Norman, we want you to play at the Eugene Blues Festival, and we got BB King and Buddy Guy on it. The show. So I said, okay, man, how long? I'm the opening act, right? So 30 minutes or so? No. You got 90 minutes.
Wow.
Buddy got 90 minutes, and BB got 90 minutes.
No kidding.
So they put us up at the Hilton in Eugene.
Ooh, yes.
And so I'm sitting there. I played my set. Buddy played his set. And so we got hospitality room for me, Buddy, and then BB's got his little area roped off.
Yeah.
He wasn't there yet.
Okay.
So I'm talking to Buddy, trying to pick his brains about strings and how to pick and, just get all his stuff,
Yeah.
I'm sitting there talking to Buddy. BB pulled in a limo. The guys came in a bus. Buddy left me in mid-sentence because now I'm talking to him. He left me to go talk to BB.
Yeah, you knew where the order of the chain was.
Hey, command, yeah.
Man, you know, it's interesting to hear, guys at the level that revere each other. When Jennifer Batten moved here to town, I started playing with her back in 2005. And
Yeah, she's tough, man.
oh yeah, man. She called me, she was down at Jimmy Mac's and she said, "Hey, I'm looking for a drummer. I just moved to town." And two people referred her to me.
Oh,
And I got a phone call at my day job, and she's, "Hey, this is Jennifer Batten. I'm looking for a drummer to come do the World Guitar Congress in Baltimore." And two people told me to call you, and I'm like, "This isn't Jennifer Batten, man. Come on." And she said, "Well, I can call somebody else." And I said, No, I'm in. And before I didn't have to hear the music. I didn't, I'm in. And so we went. She had just left the Jeff Beck gig, right? So she'd been out with Jeff Beck, and we went, and it was John Schofield and Eric Johnson and Dick Dale and, like a whole slew of some of the greatest cats.
Sounds great. Yeah.
And they were all just begging to talk to her about Jeff Beck, right? I mean, she's known worldwide for playing with Michael Jackson.
Michael J, yeah.
But man, every guitarist wanted to know, like, tell me about Jeff Beck. Tell me about what his rehearsal, what his practice regimen's like. And she's like, he doesn't practice. He works on cars all day. That's just, he doesn't have any interest in playing guitar. He just wants to work on cars. And
right on.
But to see guys at every level that hold somebody up,
Right.
and it sort of, I thought about that a lot during the pandemic. And when we started doing these kind of conversations, one thing I noticed with career musicians is that an identity crisis started setting in for all of us. The things that we've done primarily through our whole lives, although one shouldn't really be regarded as, what they do defines who they are.
Right.
But with musicians, man, we do, right? And so I know it happened with me, and I didn't notice it until I started talking to dozens of musicians that said, "Man, I'm having a funk." I remember talking to Foxworth about it. He's like, "Dude, this is what I do. I don't have a fallback plan. I'm not going to go back and deliver papers. I'm here to play music." And if I don't have a whole bunch of people calling me up, having me record their albums from home,
right?
His gig is like, man, I'm going to play with 8 different bands every week, right? Live.
And he gets main call. I think he's touring with Jared Lawson now, right?
Yep. As he should. He's earning that gig, man. But when this pandemic hit, the identity crisis really took hold of a lot of people in a big way. And it really made me think about, the value that we bring through music,
right?
Because it's, for us, man, it's cathartic, and it's what channels energy. Either, we're going through a hard time, you get on stage, life's a little more manageable for us and for the people watching, right?
It's reciprocal, man, because I agree with you wholeheartedly on that, because I've always been, even before the pandemic, I was in my 70s. But it was never in the forefront of my mind. But once the pandemic hit, I found myself being asked or reminded of how old I was just about every day. Like, or you got underlying conditions, or you're a senior, or you're that, and without that guitar to strap on my shoulder and go out and be lifted up by that energy of that music, man, you're right. It makes you feel like your superpower is gone.
You're vulnerable, man.
Like somebody just clipped your cape in half.
Suit of armor stripped away, right?
You up on the ledge, ready to go leap, and fly, but you can't because your cape has been cut in half, man.
Right.
But one thing that I think that I had over a lot of cats, especially the ones that's given their life to music early on and just toured, and they're road dogs and they're doing this stuff. I was always close to family. Okay, so I was always doing stuff for other stuff, like I was artist in residency at Irvington School for 9 years, teaching songwriting to 6th, 7th, and 8th graders.
Really?
And we would go in and play a blues history class with LaRonda and myself and Janice Scroggins, and we'd talk to the kids about gospel blues, the history of the music for the beginning of the session. For the semester, I'd go Mondays and Wednesdays, and the kids would write songs, and I would put music to them, just my guitar and a rhythm machine. Then I'd send it off to the band, and they would help me get some more grooves to it. And at the end of the semester, we'd go in and set up a recording unit. We would record from 9 in the morning until 3 o'clock. Each kid comes down, sing their song with the full band, with LaRonda, Janice, or whoever was on, helping with the vocal, helping with the tones and stuff. And they wrote songs about, it was called Music and Social Change, and it was funded by RAC. And the kids would write about chocolate, their parents, love, and boyfriends, girlfriends, keeping it clean, and civil rights, because that was what they was covering at the time.
Sure.
Soccer, and my bass player and I would mix it down. We'd have a session to where I'd add a little extra guitar here and there, a little harmonizing note here and there. Then we give the product back to the school. The kids would do the cover and the tray card, and they sell it for a fundraiser.
That's cool.
But see, that's what I'm saying. I had a lot of avenues that, so because I grew up working hard, 25 years as a Teamster. Before I became a Teamster, I went to trade school and I got my diploma in heavy duty equipment mechanic and acetylene welding and arc welding.
Wow.
Worked down on Swan Island for 23 years. I worked janitorial. I worked material control in the Monoma Hotel downtown. I worked at the car wash. I was a janitor. I installed conveyor belts and Crown Zellerback and paper mills and for Goodyear Rubber and Supply for a year and a half before I went to PIE, Pacific Intermountain Express, and became working in the shop. I was going to be an apprentice, but the apprentice line was so long and I needed the job. So I ended up greasing trucks for 12 years. Went into the parts department after 12 years. They went broke in 1990. I was the parts manager at that time. I was the parts manager, the purchasing agent. When they went broke, I went through the dislocated workers in Portland, Oregon. They taught me computers and interviewing skills and budgeting and all kind of stuff, all that kind of stuff. And they asked me, so what are you going to do with all this stuff we're teaching you, Mr. Sylvester? And I told them, never punch the clock again.
Yeah.
And I started Boogie Cat Productions, which is my company that I registered with the state of Oregon. The strolling Boogie Cat in a Panama hat and a zoot suit is my trademark for the state of Oregon. I joined BMI and I hooked up with Living Blues magazine out of the University of Mississippi. And everybody found out I was free, and the phone's been ringing ever since. So I always had these other things to do, and so when the COVID hit, man, of course, shoot, I painted the inside of my house.
Yeah.
I fixed the wall out there, dry rot the wall, messed around with my car. I edged my yard. I putting stepping stones in, so.
You were working on the Chargers, you said?
I just keep it looking good.
Yeah.
Because see, it starts up. I go and sit in that car, man, and I sit there and I talk to it for a little while because it's always got a trickle charge on it, man. Okay, baby, it's you and me right here, after all these years.
Yeah.
I hit that key and that 440 kick over, and you
440,
you feel that rumble in your tummy. So man, just know that my mom, the reason I'm still in Portland, Oregon, the reason I stayed in town and never strived really jump out of town and go anywhere was that from the time I was born to when my mama passed away in 2000, I never came home from school one time that I didn't see her face and didn't smell food cooking. So, and my dad worked 16 hours a day for 16 years to give us all the stuff that we needed when we moved out here to Oregon. Worked at St. Vincent's Hospital, then worked at a foundry. So at that point, I got married when I was 20, had 4 kids by the time I was 25.
Wow.
So I'm anchored by family.
Yeah.
So I needed to be only a phone call away from my mom. So she hit me with a phone call, I'm there, because she was always there. My dad, I was there, you know. So when he bought me that $11.95 guitar when I was a sophomore in high school at H&B Pawn Shop, I wanted an electric. He said, I'm gonna get you that acoustic for $11. If you learn 3 or 4 songs on that, I'll get you an electric. So he bought me the acoustic. I met Isaac Scott, who went on to be the king of Seattle blues, at Faith Tabernacle Church up there on Williams Avenue and Wygant.
Yeah.
Playing San Jose in the Church of God in Christ, man. And everybody was just rocking. So I met him and made a friendship with him, and he taught me those songs. I played them for my dad, and he bought me a mail order catalog guitar for $99 for amplifier and a guitar, a cord, and a strap. That was my first guitar.
No kidding. Wow.
But what Isaac and I did is, if we could hear it, we could play it.
Yeah.
So fast forward to 1969, when I started my first band. I started a trucking company in 68. We recorded a 45 vinyls, a 9-piece soul band. And we had, during that time, they were young kids. Pleasure was another band came out with.
Yeah.
Okay, Pleasure was out there, and another band called Slickophonics. Slickophonics had 2 horn players, Donnie and Ronnie Miller.
Okay.
So they broke up out of Slickophonics, and they came to my band, Rated X, RATED-X.
Okay.
So I had Donnie and Ronnie Miller. One played trombone, one played sax. They both could play drums.
Ooh.
Keyboard player played B3. Conga player, percussionist, kind of like the Ward thing, you know.
Yeah.
Bass man, and a cute little 17-year-old girl named Penny Fontenot that could sing all the Gladys Knight, that kind of stuff. So we got our set list from the back of Jet magazine. Whatever was the top 10 songs, we'd learn those songs off of the back of Jet magazine. That was our set list.
Yeah.
So, you know, so what happened, 1969, I had to go to graveyard shift at the trucking company. And I had to end up breaking that band up.
Yeah, man. That's the graveyard shift is when music gets played, man.
Yeah. When I was done, I had to break that whole band up, man. We just made that recording. And so, you know, real life, the band life. And so I just was anchored in Portland, man. So consequently, the artist in residency, the working with Healthcare for All Oregon, doing the Inner City Blues Festival. I booked the Good in the Hood Festival. I was on the starting committee with Sister Jane Hibbert, and I booked that for 11 years. Multicultural Festival. I partnered with RAC, and I brought multicultural acts in from RAC for the inner city kids to see. Book Mel Brown. Mary
For folks that don't
Catherine.
know, people in the chat, if you don't know, the RAC is the Regional Arts and Cultural Council.
Right. Yeah, man.
Yeah. So they're great about funding independent artists and organizations that need cultural support.
Support, yeah. And what I would do was they would write grants to like all kind of multicultural music groups, and I would call Helen Del Tosa, who is a good friend of mine. I say, well, Helen, I have the inner city going on. Do you have any people that haven't used their outreach grants yet? Oh. And she'd give me a list of them, and I just call them individually and say, would you like to play our festival on your community outreach grant? And all I had to do was sign their pink slip.
Right.
You see, because the RAC had already gave them money.
Nice.
So we brought didgeridoo players in there. We just, you name it.
Yeah.
Cambodian dance,
No kidding.
Mariachi bands, whatever. We
Yeah.
brought it in, So that's, that's what music has done for me, man, with family and career, working through trucking and the whole thing has brought me, it's made me whole, man.
Yeah.
That just serving, because, to serve. Okay.
It's, I'm glad to
Military
hear.
people, they serve us, nurses and doctors, it's a service. But sometimes what my grandmother always told me, said, son, you can't always ride. Sometimes you got to be rode.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That means you can't just be up there all the time. Sometimes you got to carry the load or help carry the load. And another thing she told me, she said, you're as good as any man in this world. So when you walk into a room and you're going somewhere, when you walk into that room, you have on your best suit. If you ain't got but a penny in your pocket, shine your shoes, comb your hair. And when you walk in that room, walk into that room like everybody in the room owes you rent.
Oh yes. This is your grandma that told you this.
But yeah, hold your head up high like everybody in there. And she said, meet every glance that look at you as you come in the door with a glance.
Amen.
And she said that head would go away.
Yeah.
So they try to own the room.
Right.
So folks say, well, why do you dress up all the time like this, man? And you do. I came from an era of African-American men that worked hard all week. On the weekend, they put on Stacey Adams shoes and suits and hats and lace shirts on, they dressed up. My dad, so I was around that. BB told me one time, said, when you go to a gig, I always dress up. Yeah. Because if you go to the restroom and you in there and some guy turns to you and you standing up there and he says, the band sounds good, huh? Have you ever heard him before? If he says that to you, that means you ain't dressed good enough because he don't know that you was on the stage.
That's right, man. That's right. Yeah, I've been hearing just lately that the phrases from some wise sages that tell young bands that you always dress like you're on stage. Yeah. Because you don't want to be walking through, like Walmart at 2:00 in the morning, going to get diapers for your grandkids, and if with sweats. Because all of a sudden the magic is gone, right? Yeah. I gotta say, the family thing was so important, and I didn't know how. I mean, you talked about the wisdom that your grandma had.
Yeah.
Obviously, having had that farm and raising you with the experience, you and like your dad, raising you with the experience of understanding how to work hard, but work wisely. Right. And understand the importance of hard work so that that it shouldn't, that's not the destiny that you want to have, but you got to know where you came from, right? And you appreciate the hard work that you've done.
Well, you do. And adversity too, man, because I started my life over 4 times. I've been married twice.
Okay.
I started my life over again when the trucking company went broke after 23 years. So I went from $16 an hour to $0. And then I had a common law relationship for about 7 years. That ended. I had to start over with that one. The first time my first divorce, I had a 69 Tornado. I was so ashamed of failing on that relationship that they just was building the Fremont Bridge. I slept in my car down up under the Fremont Bridge and went to work down on Swan Island from there because I was so ashamed to go and tell my mom and pop that things had changed, But once I went to see them, they never judged me. And they always were there for me if I wanted to go back, if I wanted to stay away. It was always open. So beautiful. They always met me with what's going on and they listened to me, so I don't think I never have needed a psychiatrist, anyone like that, and I just, that's anchored me to my family, so starting over like that, I just want, everybody that's listening or whatever that's got this pandemic, it's another hurdle we got to get over. I got over Medgar Everett's death, Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy, John Kennedy, the whole, all of that, man. We got through all of that. And the day after each one of those things, it seemed like the darkest day ever.
Of course.
But we can overcome stuff. So if we just, we are so divided now. If we can just stay together and get through this whole pandemic thing, our dreams can be still realized.
Yeah, I believe that, man, and I love that perspective. When things are tough, there are a lot of people that have lost family members to
Yeah.
COVID. We talked about that the other day. That people, families have split apart because there are difference of opinions or politics or whatever.
Yeah.
It's really unfortunate that something so special like that family bond, the family support,
Yeah.
can be damaged because of pride. For me, that's what I see. Pride keeps a lot of people from being honest with each other, And how important is integrity to you?
Well, you got to have that, man, to survive. You got to be a person of your word, be trustworthy, and always, I think, to listen to be able to listen. But the main thing is to be able to forgive.
Mm.
Like I said, I started over all those times, but all those people that the collateral damage of me making choices like that are still in my lives. I can communicate with them. They're still we're still on speaking terms. We gather before the pandemic, we gather as family still because we're all connected. It was a time when all that blew up, but as I matured more and more, and we became to be together. So that integrity to be able to forgive and to let things go, I think is a wonderful thing. So it's all about being grounded too, man. I'm a working man. I'm a family man. I'm a Portland, Oregon Northwest guy.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a retired Teamster. All of that stuff right there. But when I learned how to play the guitar, and since that time, I've shared the stage with Buddy, BB, I opened for Tower of Power, James Cotton, Coco Taylor, Peter Frampton, Mavis Staple, Five Blind Boys, Alabama. All these folks, man, all these doors just open and open and open. And this wasn't by accident, man. And you and me being right here right now, this is not an accident, man.
I believe it.
We were supposed to be at this particular intersection at this particular time. Our journey was supposed to intersect at this particular time.
Yeah.
You see, it was meant to be.
I absolutely believe that, man. I've been a huge fan, admirer, somebody that respects you for a long time. You and I have never had an opportunity to have more than 2 sentences of time backstage,
No, man.
But I really love to get to know somebody for their character. People go by reputation a lot of times, but I've known about your character for a long time. Sometimes you'll hear about certain artists and word of mouth trickles down and people's character gets tarnished because maybe they had a bad day and they pissed one person off, right? And so all of a sudden their reputation becomes something bad. But I've never heard anything bad about Norman Sylvester, man. So either you've tricked a lot of people or you're a really good human being. So
that's a song right there. You tricked a lot of people. You're a really good person.
I am. Decency, man. I mean, a conversation you and I had about being right, because I've asked people on the show, what is it that you would want to be remembered for? On Norman Sylvester's last days, when you've gathered your family together, what is it that you want them to be remembering about you?
I would think that it's not really about me. I think the fact that I was in their lives and whatever I gave them, I'm giving each person something different. Remember me for that thing that you got from me. And if it's something that you don't like about me, I'd rather apologize to you while I'm here. So if that's the case, bring it out.
Yeah.
Don't just keep it,
Sure.
So do remember that the way he dressed, the way he carried himself, the way he sang his lyrics, you know, the way he treated you, you know, because during that 11 years at the Candlelight Cafe,
Yeah.
Patrick Lamb started there with me. LaRonda Steele started there with me. Lisa Mann, when she first came to Oregon, was the first thing that she saw right there. You know, so that was a launching thing for people. They came to the Candlelight to play with the Boogie Cat. And we
Yeah.
had so much fun, man. But what's about the Boogie Cat? It wasn't. It was about the Portland music scene.
Yeah. Community.
The community, man.
You
That's
bet.
what it was about, man. And, you know, like you and I, you know, even at the Oregon Music Hall of Fame, we saw each other there, but we probably haven't crossed paths that much
It's true.
since
Yeah.
then. You know?
I'd see you down at like Lake Oswego Festival of the Arts, and
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
but
With Danny Schaffer.
that's right, man. You know what? I got to get a hold of Danny too.
You
'Cause,
should, man.
you know, as an educator, you know, he's such a great-hearted man,
Mhm.
and I was a big fan of his band. You know, his Crazy Eights I saw in Montana when I would sneak into clubs when I was underage in Montana.
They were
Um,
huge. They were huge.
they were huge, and
Mhm.
Dan Reed Network, another local band, right? That I would was dying to get a chance to see them. And Jerry Joseph, you know, local
Yeah.
hero. I would see Jerry Joseph come through these ski bars in Montana when I was out
Yeah,
there.
man.
And I came to Portland thinking about all these artists that I'd heard about forever. And when I found out that almost all of them are working day jobs, it killed me.
Mhm.
Right? I thought, oh, my visions and dreams of you know, like just $1 million contracts was dashed. But you know what? It was a reality check, and what it did for me was it taught me that you know the work ethic thing is really
Mhm.
important.
Mhm.
You know, people that kind of feel like they're entitled to the
Mhm.
to the big paycheck because they've whatever risked it for a year or two,
Yeah.
when you and I both know that if we were to go down right now back to your old stomping grounds where your
Yeah.
grandma had her place, we
Yeah,
could
man.
walk into a club,
Yeah.
and there'd be somebody that could play circles around almost anybody we've ever seen, and nobody
Dude.
will ever know about them, you know.
No one will ever know about him. And that's another thing. 2019, I went to Louisiana for the first time in 32 years. Went to visit my homestead family and drove to New Orleans. I was in New Orleans one day. Went to BB King's Club eating a
Mm.
shrimp po' boy. Guy came over and said, "You guys are tourists. Where you from?" I said, "Portland, Oregon." I gave him my card. Said, "I'm the Boogie Cat. I play a little blues in Portland." He said, "Oh, cool, man. Good to meet you." 15 minutes later, here comes the band leader for the main show for the deal. Called me down to play guitar on stage at BB King's Club.
No kidding.
Just visiting.
That's cool.
I played with the man, and we had a good little rocking time. And I get off the stage, and they said, "Mr. Sylvester, how long are you in town for?" I said, "Well, I'm here till next Wednesday." "Could you come back Monday and play with us again?" So
Yeah.
you see, so that kind of stuff, man, is music connects us all, man. And
Oh,
so, you know, that journey, you know, that we're
yeah.
doing, like you and I doing this, and this is a wonderful show you got here, man. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
this, man. It's a wonderful concept. And
I appreciate
you know,
it.
it's nice to hear Curtis talk about what he was talking about, and it's nice for you to listen to me rattle on and stuff like this. But you know, it's good for people to know who we are, man. You know, that we're just you know, Curtis been through a lot, man, with his health and stuff, but
Oh,
he's still he
yeah.
what? But why did that happen? It was Curtis was meant to be here at this time,
I agree.
because he told me, he said, "Man," he said, "they keep giving me the awards down there at that Blues Foundation, and I'm sitting next to Otis Clay,
Yeah.
and he's sitting there next to me, one of the best vocalists I would ever know, and they're giving me the award."
Yep.
So, and I opened for Otis a bunch of times, man. And Otis can sing gospel. He was overseas, man. They loved him to death. And so Curtis, you know, is at that spot. And I'm so happy for him. He writes great songs, man.
Yeah.
You know,
You know what, you probably saw that in that interview. The thing that I told him that I just really loved was that, you know, some of that I think comes from recovery too, working his program, you know,
yes.
but man, that dude would, if there were 3 people in the room that were musicians, those 3 people would get accolades and compliments from him before
Yeah.
he's even going to think about saying something about himself.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that about him before. You know, we had good talks leading up to his show, because I ran into Huey Lewis on and the
Really?
news. We did a cruise together, and I was telling him where I was from, and he goes, "Are you kidding me? Paul DeLay and Curtis Salgado, man, that's the whole reason I'm doing what I'm doing." I'm like, "What?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?" And he told me, "Yeah." He said, "Man, I wouldn't play harmonica if it wasn't for those two." And he said, "Curtis Salgado is more soul and a white guy than I know." And I was like, I wonder if he knows that that's what you think, you know. And Curtis was, you know, floored by it. I just thought, for me, man, there's nothing better than hearing musicians, because as you and I both know too, it's a competitive industry, and if people are in town,
Yeah.
guys, if you're watching this chat and you're not a musician, you look around the room in a club, jazz club, blues club, whatever, and you see this. Those are other musicians in the room that are wishing they had the gig. So
That's what it is.
yeah, that's
That's what it is.
envy. That's like, and you'll see they'll be posting. You'll see them post on social media. Oh, that dude sold out because he was doing a couple of cover tunes or whatever. And that guy's the underlying message is, I'd give anything to be on that stage.
Envy. But the thing about it, dude, is that one thing about Portland, there's a brotherhood here.
Yes, it does.
Lloyd Jones, to go back to the trucking days when I was working graveyard,
Yeah.
I would go to the White Eagle on a Friday evening on my way to graveyard shift. Lloyd Jones would be playing at the White Eagle. Mike Cross would be on drums. That would be a Strat in a rack tune. I'd run in, pick up that Strat. Lloyd would go on drums. Mike Cross would pick up the other guitar, Lloyd's guitar, and I'd play 5 songs with the band. And I'd run out the door, go down to Swan Island to the trucking company. So Lloyd Jones kept my name out there while I was working trucking.
That's cool.
And fast forward to Curtis. Curtis, back in the day, was unapproachable. But in later years, Curtis now, he and I, the last time we talked for an hour about gospel music.
Yeah.
The Canton spirituals and all the blind boys and stuff. He loves gospel singers. But if you listen, I don't know whether that was uncovered in that interview with Curtis. If you listen to Curtis and Robert Cray from back when they were together, I saw Curtis and Robert's last show at the Euphoria.
Okay.
And then that next week, I found out that Curtis was going his way and Robert was going his way. But if you listen to their vocal and put on O.V. Wright,
okay,
A Nickel and a Nail, and all those songs that O.V. put out, and you hear that same timbre in the voice that you hear with Robert and Curtis. They both sing that whole groove is a O.V. Wright kind of vocal, man. And O.V. is one of the best soul singers ever. But Curtis and Robert, they nailed that, man.
Yeah.
So, but I knew when I saw them, I said, man, that's like 2 stars together, man. You know, two entities. You know, just they're grooving together, but look like when you try to put 2 magnets together and they're kind of pushing the negative side going. And, you know, and I was when they went away, each one went. Robert went to Rosebud, and Curtis with that Blixen guy, and they kind of went away and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, Robert is doing this and Curtis is doing that. So it's really to see that journey. But it's a lot of brotherhood here, like Dover Weinberg Brotherhood. Peter Damon. He's played little celebrations of life with me and all kind of things. So, you know, there is a certain camaraderie, you know, with a lot of the artists here in town, and I look forward to seeing a lot of folks, man, you know.
Me too. Yeah. I mean, honestly, this show, I could have episodes of just the Portland community and all the people that inspire me, just endless. You know, maybe you mentioned like the singers before, like Ray Gordon. She is at more community events. She does more service than anybody that I know, man. I mean, just like if she could figure out a way to get another 24 hours in a day, she'd give it up to everybody else, man.
She's funny too, man.
Yeah, she is.
Ken DeRoshi does a food drive every year. You know, my wife and I, we do a what would we call it? Sock It To Me. We do a sock drive every year. We take it down to Bud Clark Commons, you know. Yeah. And we all kind of, this Portland music community all come together like we're now all rallying around Greg Johnson, who's really just had a setback in his situation, the president of the CBA. They're doing a big show at the Crystal, but I pulled out of it because of my age and underlying conditions, and I'm waiting on the
booster.
Booster, and I just didn't want to take chances because
I get it.
you know I just don't. I've waited this long to come back and gave up. We've all just sacrificed so much, so I don't want to take a chance. Just get good. I don't think none of it's going to make us bulletproof.
Yeah, but man, it's better to get as many chinks of armor, like suits of armor as you can.
Yeah.
Well, I do hope that Greg, gets some recovery, and you brought up somebody who used to just rave about you too, man, and it was such a tragic loss. So I want to raise a glass to Calvin. Like that was tough to see him like pass it. And we've had some losses the last couple of years, man, that have been really, really hard, but
Yeah.
I think I'm glad that the community is
See
together.
Calvin?
Yeah. So when I first came to town, trying to think of the ensemble that I saw. Oh, and actually, you just reminded me of Tim Ellis too. I mean, Tim's another one. When you talked about running in the White Eagle and the guitar was sitting there for you,
Yeah.
Tim, I think, had guitars staged at every stage in town so that he could do 5 gigs in a night.
Ellis?
Yeah, because Tim would go and he'd do a gig, and then there'd be a gig set up for him at Hayden's. Then he'd go up to do a couple of church services, and yeah, man, he I did. You know what? I became a better musician because of Tim Ellis from just being on stage with him.
He's a musician's musician because he could hear notes that were wrong. Like when we were doing a studio recording session, I think he was running the studio, and he could say, "Oh man, that string's out of tune," or "That should be a sus chord." He could just call stuff out, man. And I was opening Peter Frampton, and Frampton's people got a wind of it over at Vancouver Wine and Jazz, and they said, "Hey, that band is a 6-piece band. We don't want that 6-piece band open up ahead of us. Put something else in there." So they pushed me up to the gate opening time, and they put Tim Ellis and another guitar player on ahead of Frampton.
Oh, wow.
So I was there when folks was waiting out in line, and coming into the park. And then Tim Ellis. So I got a chance to go and sit and listen to Ellis and then listen to Frampton too. But he burned, man. He was just a duo, man, and they was cooking. I said,
"Yep."
I said to myself, Frampton shouldn't want to come behind Tim Ellis.
Yeah, Frampton was a surprisingly good guitarist, man. I mean, he is, but yeah, man, I was thinking about. I think Carlton Jackson was one of the
Carlton, yeah.
He was one of the very.
I found out about that. I was July 4th. I was at the Waterfront Blues, man, and Peter came over to my hospitality area, and I think LaRonda had told him because Brian Foxwood had called down there, and he stood there, man. He's just standing. I said, "What is he doing?" And then he was kind of tearing up, and he said, "Man," I said, "What?" I was shocked, man.
Yeah, everybody was.
Yeah,
like that. He was a huge Norman Sylvester fan too, and Carl Jackson is like, I talked about Terry Courier, just having such a huge impact on the community.
Yeah.
Carlton was that guy, between working union, for, musicians' rights. And
he was always union, and he's also a good union member, but he was a historian about jazz stuff, man. Sonny Stitt, he could tell you all of this stuff, man, and he could run it. And when his DJ work, his show was it was great, so he was the real deal.
He was, and you know what I loved, man, is that some guys get snobby, about the jazz thing.
Yeah. And
as authentic as I try to be, pulling off some stuff, he was always with constructive feedback. He was never like, "Nice try." He was never that guy with me. He'd say, "Oh, man, you're swinging, man." He said, listen to more, like if you get into like Southern jazz more, if you get you listen to Delta blues stuff, and you listen to guys swinging down there.
Right.
He said you're getting a little better swagger out of your swing. You
I
know.
did. My last thing I worked with Carlton was with Don Cherry's son, David Arnett Cherry.
Oh,
The Organic Listening Party. What does it call it? His music is called eclectic. It's a soundscape. He plays all these weird instruments. Like Cherry did all the chants, and he did the different instruments and mixed it with jazz fusion and bebop and all this stuff. So David put a show together at the Artist Repertory Theater, stage show. So Carlton and Renato. So it was a show. The last one we did an honor to Jim Pepper.
Okay.
With LaRonda Steele on the show. But the first one was just the Organic Listening Party. And I came on as a guest on that one. And so I never thought I'd be in the Artist Repertory Theater on a stage play kind of situation as a blues guy, old guy, ex-trucker. It's just a dream come true to me.
Yeah.
They didn't have my name on the Artist Repertory little pamphlet that I was there. And the way he put it together was each musician, after a certain song, told his story, kind of like you and I are talking.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't on stage on the first one, and they had been jamming and stuff like this. And I came in and I kind of knocked on the set, like, hey. And they said, hey, who's that? I said, hey, this is Norman Sylvester, man. I heard you guys in here jamming, man. I wondered if I could come in and join you. And that's the way we set up my part to come in and join them.
Okay.
And then I came in and we played a blues number with them, and I told my story.
Yeah.
And so it was like, we did 3 of those, man, 3 stage plays, man, at the Artist Repertory Theater.
I wish I could have seen that, man.
How crazy is that, man? I never thought that was happening, but Carlton was on that, and Carlton was so tasteful. He and Mel Brown, Mel Brown's up here and Carlton's right there, but Carlton was the go-to drummer from the Union Hall.
Yep.
Anybody came to the Snits that needed a drummer, he was up there.
Yeah.
He was the guy. He was that guy. Bad man. Yeah, tears in my eyes every time I think about his the way he left it. It was the weekend of that 116 day. That's right. I think it was really hot that week. Yeah.
Man, this year, I don't know about for you, man, but a change in me happened during the pandemic where, and a lot of it came from this show, because I've lost some people that became close to me through this show and that I would not have gotten to know as well if it weren't for these conversations. Mm-hmm. And I'm so grateful for the experience to have talked to them and gotten to know them. And when they passed, it was painful, but I had this feeling of joy for having an opportunity to get to know who they really were, And so to me, the concept of legacy, people remember how you made them feel,
That's what I'm saying. What you did to them at that particular time. Because when you hear a song that you really love, don't you always think about what were you doing when you first
showed me? Oh, yeah.
So when you think of me, I want to say, when the first time you saw me, when we was in the groove, what was the feeling that you had at that time? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's the immortality that we seek as humans.
Yeah.
That forever memory. You know what I'm saying?
There's my favorite slogan. Jim Carrey talked to this group of marketing students, and I think at Stanford 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. And part of his commencement speech was, the effect you have on others is the greatest form of currency there is. And he was talking to marketing students, and so these marketing students that are thinking about making money and material things, mm-hmm. when it's irrelevant in the end. Mm-hmm. You don't take that Rolex with you when you go in the grave, right? But the effect you have on others, that's what people are going to remember, and and that's of value. I think it's important, and you've had that effect, man. So I applaud you. I'm so grateful to have you here, man. And if you're cool with it, I'm going to archive this, folks. If you're watching this and you got here late, this will be archived in about 10 minutes up at www.accesskevin.com, or you can go and subscribe at YouTube and you can hit that. I'll put that link here too. But
hey,
yeah, buddy.
One thing, man,
Yeah.
if any songwriters are out there, just let them know that during my life of working on trucking and stuff like that, what made me start writing songs was Langston Hughes. I fell in love with the Renaissance of Harlem, and I started writing down my daily activities, what I was going through with the Teamsters Union or whatever. And those songs in the key of blues, was my first CD, which was On the Right Track. Those poems that I wrote during that time on little pieces of paper at the trucking company would put together. That was my first CD. So write down your stuff, and everybody can be a poet or a songwriter if they chronicle their life.
Love it, man. Yeah. Such wise words. You've got some wisdom, my friend. I'm digging it. Do you mind if when we go offline, I'm just going to leave people with, there's a video of you at Cathedral Park doing redemption time.
Okay, cool,
I'm
man.
Gonna do that. Hey, listen.
Thank you.
Boogie Cat,
mm-hmm.
You are a wonderful human being, man. Thank you for being here, Boogie. I
appreciate your mission, man, bringing people together. Thank you. Great job. Bravo.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for being here, pal. Thanks to all of you guys for watching. And again,
thanks, everyone.
Bill Erickson, nice to see you. Robert Evans, I love him too. Yeah, man. Thank you so much. I don't know if you know, but Bill Erickson's another local musician who's a fantastic player.
What's up, Bill? All right, man. Thank you. Thank you, Robert. Oh, Robert. That's Robert. I know Robert. Yes, indeed.
There we go, man. Yeah. So, folks, go back and catch this thing at the beginning if you missed it. Otherwise, go to accesskevin.com. Norman Sylvester, Oregon Music Hall of Fame inductee. If you got a chance Saturday, folks, Oregon Music Hall of Fame is having this year's induction ceremony at the Aladdin Theater. Get tickets. It's an amazing event. It honors those that have made a difference in Oregon music. And there's a fantastic opportunity for you to help the youth of America, the youth of Oregon that need to study music. They have opportunities for music scholarships that you can help be a part of. So omhoff.org, you can check that out. And I'm going to leave you with Redemption Time from Norman Sylvester.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, buddy. Have a great week.
All right. Congratulations to all the honorees at the Oregon Music Hall of Fame.
Thank you, buddy.
All right.
Original song, title of the song is Redemption Time. I wrote this song quite a while back. In fact, the late Janice Scroggins is on this song on my CD. Give it up for Janice Scroggins' memory, y'all. Yes, indeed. The title of the song is Redemption Time. And if you believe that it's redemption time for the world, for the community at large, put your hands together right here. For the community, for peace, for love, freedom, the end of bigotry, equality. It's redemption time. It's redemption time for every woman and man. It's redemption time. We must all take a stand. Public education is starting to fade. The classrooms overcrowded. The teachers underpaid. Listen to the children. Can't you hear them cry? They need knowledge and wisdom if they're going to survive. There's young women having babies, too young for motherhood. Senior citizens are prisoners in their own neighborhood. They're tried by shooting. Oh, the bullets they are blind. violence in our school. It's a shame and a sin. Anger, grief, and sorrow. When will it all end? We got to work together to save mankind. Communication is the key. It's redemption time. Redemption time.
Yes, it is for every woman and man.
Redemption time.
We must all take a stand. Yeah.
Redemption time.
The graffiti's on the wall.
It's redemption time.
Can't you hear the children cry? Oh, yeah.
Willamette River Music Festival, it is redemption time. We got to do something to make the world a safer place. Everywhere we turn, there's danger in our face. Shopping malls and schools, in our churches and on our streets. Hatred, violence, and bigotry. Let's all pray for peace. It's redemption time, y'all. It's redemption time. It's redemption time.
That's right, folks. I'm posting the link to the show right here. Go check out the whole show at accesskevin.com/allaccesslive with Norman Sylvester. Have a beautiful one, everybody. Thanks again.